This is the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management topics to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at www.thepmpodcast.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. Hello and welcome to episode number 85. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast for the 12th of January 2008. Nice to have you with us. Today we feature a project management conversation with Ron Holohan, PMP. We talk about his role as a program manager who has 5 project managers reporting directly to him. He works for a consumer electronics company in a weak matrix organization, which of course offers challenges of its own. We take a look at his company's processes, how they came to have their current project management methodology, and how a project budget is created. We also introduce you to a new gizmo. This week we take a look at the 20-Minute IT Manager, a training and mentoring program that works almost like a podcast. To open the program, we have 2 short announcements. First of all, we would like to hear your opinion. We would like to know what you think are going to be the hot project management topics for 2008. Is it earned value or is it portfolio management? And the reason we want to know is that we want to listen to you. If you tell us what your hot topics are, then we can go ahead and find the experts and talk to the experts in those fields and bring you the relevant interviews here on the program. For this purpose, we have created a survey on the website. So please take a moment and stop by at thepmpodcast.com and take our survey. You can choose from a selection of hot topics that we have defined for you, or you can also add your own at the bottom. This shouldn't take you more than maybe 1 to 2 minutes at most. Look for the link in the left-hand navigation on the website where it says Take the 2008 Survey. Our second announcement is a note that I got from Jerry Manis. Jerry writes, "Hi, Cornelius. I was wondering if it would be of interest to your listeners that RMC is offering a 40% discount for pre-orders of my new book, Managing the Grey Areas." I took a look and I found out that Jerry's new book touches on topics such as principles, values, ethics, decision-making, incentives, staffing, critical thinking, and communication. And it's pulling ideas from a wide variety of knowledge areas. And if that interests you, then go ahead, stop by at rmcproject.com and you can save 40% on a pre-order today. Jerry also mentioned that at some point his book should be available on Amazon for pre-orders as well. And those were our 2 quick announcements for the day. Next, here is today's gizmo. And to present it, I am speaking with Tom Mokel, President of 10-Step. Good morning, Tom, and welcome back to the program.
Thanks for inviting me back.
Absolutely. I actually invited you back because one of my interview guests recommended to bring you on and talk about the 20-Minute IT Manager. Why don't you tell us about the concept that's behind the 20-Minute IT Manager?
Yes, actually, we're very excited about it. I am partnering with a colleague whose name is Mike Sisko. He and I have been working together and collaborating for a number of years, and we have been talking about trying to put together a product we could jointly use our expertise on, and we came up with this concept of giving people short sessions in a variety of project management, people management, personal development, many areas like that he has expertise in and I have expertise. And we thought this format of sound plus some pictures would be easy for people to understand, easier for people to pick up lessons on a weekly basis.
Is it just sound and pictures, or do I get additional material as well?
Most of the sessions, not all of them, most of them also have what we call a tool for success. As an example, I have a session that talks about risk management, and there is a template that comes with that session, which is a risk management plan. Not all sessions are such that a tool or a template would be applicable. For instance, I'm doing a session now, I think it was actually published last week, on the history of project management, and there wasn't really a good takeaway for that, but most sessions do have some tool or a template or document that people can take with them as well.
And the presenters are you and Mike Sisko, right?
That's correct. We alternate every other week.
And how did you come up with a 20-minute concept? Why is it 20-minute long?
We did some research about a year. It's been almost 2 years now, I guess, since we started this program. And we were looking for the optimum time that we thought people would be able to spend on a weekly basis, because we wanted to have weekly and fresh comments or content, but we didn't want to have it be 3 hours a session because people wouldn't be able to listen to it, wouldn't have the time to do it, and we didn't want it to be 5 minutes because then people wouldn't have the value. So after doing some research on the Internet, we discovered that actually there is an optimum time that you can count on people to be available and to be focused, and it happens to be 20 minutes.
And what topics do you cover in the series?
We have, I think, 4 or 5 major areas that we cover. It includes project management and people management, people development, IT management, especially in the area of CIO management and people that would like to become senior IT managers. Mike Sisko especially has expertise in that area. And other areas like that, for instance, I covered a couple topics on development lifecycle and requirements gathering. So those kind of areas, mostly process-oriented, people-oriented. We're not going to get into too much of technology in these. They're going to be more people and personal development.
And to view these sessions, do I have to be online, or can I download them and watch them offline?
We give both options. We actually thought about that for a long time as well, and we couldn't decide which was the most convenient, so we decided to offer both options. So each session, they come once a week. Each session is available online, but you can also download a zip file which contains the same session, and you can take that with you and play it at your convenience.
Of course, I have to ask, how much does it cost, and is there a way that our listeners here can try it out?
It is a subscription, so there's a couple ways it can be purchased. One is a monthly subscription for $24.95 per month, which we think is very inexpensive. It's only $5 or $6 per session. You can also purchase a 1-year subscription at a time for $255, and that ends up being even more discounted. Ends up being just $5 or a little less than $5 a session. And actually, if you go to our website, which is the 20minuteitmanager.com, and that 20 is with the 2-0 rather than spelled out, 20minuteitmanager.com, there is a sample session that you can download and get a sense for what the format is and what the general topics are. You can also see a list of all of the topics that we are going to be covering in 2008, for instance, and you can also see all of the back issues. So if you want to try a back issue and actually see a full session or a couple of them that are of interest, you can also purchase them individually.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And once again, the URL is 20minuteitmanager.com. Thanks for being on the program, Tom.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
And for all our gizmos, we have a disclaimer. And that is that we do not endorse the gizmos that we present in this segment. We just want to tell you that they exist. Please use your own judgment. The companies and individuals who are presenting a gizmo here do not pay us for the privilege. And now, let's head right into our main topic, our project management conversation with Ron Holohan. Ron Holohan, PMP, is a program manager and has been involved in project management for over 13 years. Currently, he is a PMO manager whose work focuses on new product development in the consumer industry. Prior to becoming a program manager, he was a project manager on over 15 new product development teams, varying in size from 7 to over 30 full-time team members. The total yearly revenue generated from products for which he is responsible is well over $75 million. His specialties are project management, product development, schedule development, budget development, functional management, organizational communication, contract negotiation, meeting schedule metrics, meeting budget metrics, and meeting product cost metrics. So, without further ado, here is the project management conversation with Ron Holohan. Welcome, Ron, and thank you very much for being on the program tonight.
Well, thank you for having me, Cornelius.
Well, absolutely. We're glad to have a fellow podcaster on here. We want to talk a little bit about your current life, what you're doing as a project manager. So let me start out with the most obvious question, of course. What are you currently working on?
Well, actually, my role right now in my company is as a program manager. I've served as the project manager for 13 years. And I was promoted a couple years ago, about 18 months ago actually, to program manager. And so my role has slightly changed. I've got 5 project managers that now report directly to me. But really what my function is to look at our overall roadmap for our products for the particular fiscal year that we're in, and figuring out, who to allocate as far as a project manager, how much money we can spend across all the projects, things like monitoring our revenue for those projects, things of that nature. So it's really exciting for me. It takes the project management responsibilities and role to a whole new level. So, right now at the moment, I've got 5 project managers, and our department's responsible for developing personal listening devices for use with MP3 players. So, being a podcaster, it's kind of neat to get to use our earphones with MP3 players, and that's really what we develop. So right now, we're actually launching several new projects. We're getting ready to close a platform project where we developed 5 different earphones in a single project, and we're closing out our contracts, getting ready to close out our project. We're also closing another earphone project that just launched, lower cost, more value added type of earphone where consumers can purchase this earphone if they're first getting into MP3 listening devices and want to hear, really good quality without having to spend a lot of money. So we're getting ready to finish up that project. And we just launched some new accessories for the new Apple iPhone. So it's kind of exciting. We're able to develop some products in conjunction with Apple, and it works with the iPhone, and it allows users to use earphones for both. They can actually use their earphones to listen to music through iTunes on their iPhone, but also to make and send calls. It has an integrated microphone, so that's a pretty neat project as well. So we've been pretty busy this past few months during the summer releasing these products.
Wow, it sounds exciting, and It also sounds like you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I am. It's challenging, but it's also very rewarding to see these products out in the market.
Is your company projectized, or do you do it in a matrix organization?
We're probably more of a matrix. I would guess more of a weak matrix type of organization. We definitely have functional silos. We have team members that come, that report to a functional manager. But then they also report to the project manager, and the project manager really assigns their day-to-day work, on that project. Several team members will actually work on several projects at one time, so they may report up to 2 or 3 different project managers. But it works pretty well within our organization.
It's nothing unusual that team members in a organization where new products are being developed report to multiple project managers as well as their functional managers, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now, what would you say are the strong areas of project management in your company? Anything that you're particularly proud of?
We are very process driven. We are ISO 9001 certified, so we definitely have our process well documented, and we use a phase gate type of process with 4 phases. And I think it works really well. It actually adheres fairly well to PMI's recommendation in their book of or body of knowledge, where they recommend having various processes, initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, close, and controlling closing. And we do a pretty good job of having that already in our development process and in our just our project management process. So I'm pretty proud of that in the fact that if I'm a new project manager at my company, I can really quickly get up to speed on how products are developed at my company.
Do you have your own methodology internally, or did you adopt something that you bought externally?
Well, what we did is we actually worked with a consultant and kind of used a general kind of phase-gated system to, I guess, kind of as the framework for our development. And this consultant really brought that to our company. Before that occurred, and that probably occurred around 1999. Before that, we were pretty much a little bit Wild West. It was we would develop a product and we would monitor it during the development, but we didn't have these phase gates and kill points where if things weren't really going well, we could make an assessment whether the project needed to be brought back into scope or into what we had planned for the project, or even be killed in some cases. So I think we've gotten a lot better with that. Something that we just recently instituted at my company is what we called a project review board. And prior to that, we had what we called a project approval committee. And the project approval committee looked at mainly phase deliverables and major deliverables of the project, but they really didn't get into the nitty-gritty of particular activities on the critical path. And this new project review board does. And what's nice is the project managers really monitor closely scheduled deliverables, costs, and budget on a weekly basis. They actually publish a weekly status report, and we monitor these dates very closely, for instance. And if we find that certain milestones or activities move out more than 2 weeks, it automatically triggers the project manager to review this with the project review board. And the project review board is really made up of program management as well as functional management. So there's members of both areas of our company that can really work together to help get the project back in into scope.
That sounds, though, that you must have a very strict reporting mechanism in the background, with everybody putting in their current status and probably also a whole planning process with an appropriate budgeting and milestones. Do you use earned value, or do you use some other kind of a technique to do that?
No, we don't use earned value, and that's something that we're looking into doing. What we do is just plan in our first phase, which we call spec and planning. We develop exactly how much we plan on spending for the project. We do a lot of the same things as far as developing, a project plan, management plan that the PMI recommends. But we really track that based on duration of tasks, and we don't do a good job as far as are we really, spending resources at the rate that we have planned. And so what we have instituted is this kind of weekly status report that, effectively does that. And what it does also do is it helps the project managers realize that they need to have close communications, meetings, walking around, talking with their team members to really get a good idea of how the project's going. In the past, we've had situations where projects would get out of really off plan, and it would get off of plan, pretty drastically, as much as a couple months, 3 months sometimes, without a lot of people knowing it until the next phase review. And this has really helped us tie up our schedules a little tighter and hit our deadlines a lot better.
So if you could change just one thing in your project management process at the moment, or improve on one thing, what would you change? What would you do? Where would you put the lever and do something?
One thing I think our company lacks is really a project management organization or office. I'd love to have a PMO in our company, and I'd love to be involved in that, where we could focus more time on streamlining our process, getting it a little bit. For one area where we struggle is we have all kinds of different areas of complexity as far as our products. So we have some very complex products that we sell, some very, really easy to develop and not very complex products. And I'd love to see really our company look for better ways of innovating our development process and project management to serve both of those. One thing that I'm interested in looking into, and I've started contacting some people, is in critical chain project management. I'd really like to see if that could be instituted within our company, and to see if that would actually help us hit our deadlines a little bit better.
I'm so glad hearing you say that you want to use some sort of a PMO approach, because it helps companies so often when they have a sound methodology and they have the discipline in the companies, that when they actually go and say, okay, now let's really take this and turn this into a PMO and make someone responsible to ensure that we follow the methodologies. Because here's what happens at my company at the moment, right? Mm-hmm. We develop software at least in our IT department, and it's grown organically from this very extremely Wild West software development, where until 6-7 years ago, they used to develop code in the production environment. Right? There was no staging going from development to beta to production. No, it didn't exist. And about half a year ago, we got this mandate from our mother company. We now have to implement rational unified process. Right? They've tailored it a bit to our general company, but it's rational unified process. And you should hear the moaning and groaning, right, about this. Well, this is never going to work. Our customer is not going to accept this. This is going to cause delays, and it takes longer. And it's absolutely amazing how much pushback we get from the development organization simply because the company doesn't have the discipline of really using a methodology, following through, and realizing that it really helps if you follow a methodology. Obviously, your company has the discipline and does follow methodologies.
It does. The biggest challenge we have, though, is understanding the triple constraints. I think our management has a hard time understanding that, if you add scope to a project, it's going to cost you nothing.
Yeah.
So, even though we have a lot of good process, I think there isn't a specific organization within our company that really supports our project management. So, a lot of times we just get a lot of pressure to bring in dates, and a lot of times it's, regardless if we add additional scope or not. So,
to finish it off, let me ask you about your schedule. What's your schedule going to look like next week? What's on your plate?
Well, we're actually getting ready to kick off a bunch of new projects. And what's interesting about these are we're actually working with outside partners and manufacturers. So we're doing some co-development. And some of us have had a lot of experience in doing this in my group, but others are starting to just get their feet wet. So we've had some successes. We've had some less than successful projects that have been managed, where we were actually managing the development on the outside. And so, we're looking at that, and we're trying to figure out the best way to approach these particular projects. And I think we've learned quite a bit in the past about, understanding that it's very critical to have really tight communications with outside partners and, understanding exactly roles and responsibilities early. So I'm looking forward to these projects. I think they'll be successful and these products will be very, I think, well received and exciting for our company.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate to hear what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being on your show.
And that was our project management conversation with Ron Holohan. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. We are off the air next week because my wife and I are going to a 7-day cruise down to Mexico. But we here are going to be back a week after that, on January 26th. And you will be hearing a fascinating interview with Nami Abuzaid, and we'll be talking about how project managers should strive to move out of their traditional roles and consider to move into upper management as a career path. And by the way, it was Nami who suggested today's gizmo. As always, you can find us on the web at thepmpodcast.com. And if you are a project manager who wants to become a PMP, you can visit pmprepcast.com. In our sister podcast, we teach you concepts, tools, and techniques that you need to know in order to pass the PMP exam. Please send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. And when you write, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this. Planning is an unnatural process. Doing something is so much more fun. Until next time.